Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today, I thought I would just do a quick little free agency roundup recap for the Lions and what that might mean on their draft looking forward. I know we're all in March Madness mode. I'm the same way, and I'll probably post this a little bit later in the week. It's a bit of a pre-recorded video, so at the time of recording it, it's Saturday morning. So if something happens in between then, sorry. I'll probably put a little comment in the video or something in the description and talk about it. But there was a few big signings that the Lions made in free agency, and it will help us with the direction of what's going on in the draft. And what happened here was they signed David Montgomery. Now, they lost Jamal Williams. It sucks for the culture, but David Montgomery is younger, stronger, faster, taller, better, pretty much every way. I don't know if he'll have the same effect of culture on the team, which is what they kind of needed, but now that he was there, he built the culture already. He can move on to New Orleans, and I didn't really like kind of what he was saying, inferring that the Lions didn't pay him. But then again, he had one good year, and a lot of his touchdowns were pretty short. But it sucks to see him leave. But you're kind of seeing that. You're getting rid of emotion in sports. I said earlier, hometown heroes. Like, don't let emotions or nostalgia. Don't let nostalgia ruin franchises, right? And they've kind of listened to the Lions, which is crazy to see that they're watching my videos. Obviously not, but you know what I mean. But yeah, a 3-year, $18 million deal, $11 million guaranteed. It's a lot for a running back, but Montgomery's been a great running back, right? Obviously didn't run as much last year with Justin Fields running around, but he's a power back, kind of similar to Jamal Williams, and he's been behind such a bad line his whole life, and now he's behind one of the best lines in football with the Lions. You're going to be like, okay, let's get going, let's get rocking. He's had 900 or something yards the last few seasons, and now that he's got a real line behind him, he's going to do good. He's a great in short yardage, picks up the yards when he needs to, always not afraid to take a hit. He's got the breakaway speed that he did in that huge run that Barstool Big Cat jokes about is the run, when he had that big run against the Packers, like an 80-yard touchdown or something to take the lead. But it's good to see that, obviously you don't want to pay running backs, but it's really good to see that we've upgraded a position of need. I mean, ideally you would have drafted somebody because you can pay them a lot less and they're probably just as good, but Montgomery's a proven commodity and only at technically $6 million a year, but really $11 million guaranteed. It's not that bad of a deal, and I think you can still probably take a running back in the 5th, 6th round. Looking at Cam Sutton, the next signing from the Steelers, 3 years, $33 million. Big need, obviously, with corner, and the Lions addressed that. It was good to see that they did that. Everyone wanted us to draft a corner at 6, which I think is a little bit of a reach, especially with this class. It's not as good as years past. There's obviously still some very, very good players in it. But do you see a guy like Jalen Ramsey, right? Even a guy like him, was he really worth a top 5 pick? Arguably yes, but you want to make sure that your guy's there for a long time. I think he would be worth it, but I could see the argument where he's not. And with the top 5, top 6 pick, you want to make sure that it's a guy that's going to be in a Detroit Lions jersey for a long time, right? He's going to really help fill that up. It's a pretty low-risk signing, says ESPN and these other guys. Just reading and looking at the grades, it's got a pretty good grade around it. A lot of Steelers fans are not happy about losing him, which means something, right? That's good. And you're going to need some corners. You probably still go after a corner day 2, maybe like 2nd or 3rd round. Emmanuel Forbes, the guy out of Miami. Maybe the Maryland guy falls a little bit too. Cam Smith from South Carolina. And we don't know. Maybe a Joey Porter falls late, Or I guess you could probably go at pick 18 if you want to go corner. Maybe. I mean, I would not complain nearly as much as I would if you took him at 6. Could I live with it at 6? Yes. If and only if they have Tyree Wilson, Jalen Carter, and Will Anderson off the board. If any one of those 3 are there at 6 or wherever you trade down to or trade up to, absolutely no corner. But if you trade with like the Titans down to 11 and you get a 2nd round pick and you take a corner at 11, that's a different story. I wouldn't like it as much, but then maybe pick 18 you get a pass rusher. So as long as you get at least one game wrecker type player in the 1st round, it's a good round. Emmanuel Mosley was the next signing. He was a starter for the Niners, obviously coming off an injury. He might not be able to be healthy long term. He's on a 1-year, $6 million prove-it deal. Last guy to do that was DJ Chark, who appears is with the Panthers. I don't know if that's confirmed yet. Obviously been college basketballed out, so I don't know if they officially did that, but he's been talking to them a lot. He tore an ACL to end the year, but as we've kind of seen, the ACL doesn't really matter anymore as much as it used to. Modern medicine and technology, strength conditioning, you can really get these guys geared up. He may not start the year, but if he comes in week 4 or 5, healthy corner, that's something you could just add to those rooms. That's a great thing to do. So I like it's a low risk signing, high reward, hopefully. But I really do like that signing. And moving on, you bring back Mr. Isaiah Buggs, 2-year, $6 million deal. He's one of the better players in the defense last year, and being able to bring a guy like him back, he wanted to stay here. He talked about how he would take a pay cut to stay here. And paying him so little in a defensive tackle market that's going through the roof, and because of, you got Jalen Carter, Kalijah Cansey, and Brian Brees. Mozzie Smith too is kind of back there at the end. Sakai Ika, the guy from Baylor. And then Keandre Coburn, I think, is the guy from Texas. Those are like your top 6 guys, and I think only 2 of them will go in the first round, maybe 3. And then you just know that's a weak position right now. So obviously, the inflationary lack of players you can get on cheap in the draft makes it so that they have to get paid a lot in free agency. But getting a starter back at a 2-year, $6 million deal, that's unbelievable business. And Alex Anzalone got re-signed. It's your captain on the defense. Is he worth what he got? Maybe not. But in a spot of a really bad defense, he was pretty good. So maybe you wanted to upgrade from the linebacker position. I still think they could draft one. You've got Trenton Simpson and Drew Sanders, even Jack Campbell, and then the Washington State guy. His name escapes me at the moment. But those are 4 pretty good linebackers. You can get some later in the draft too, as well, as we saw with Malcolm Rodriguez getting out of Oklahoma State in the 5th or 6th round. It's a good addition. You can still add these guys late. Obviously, first rounders and second rounders help, but you can still pick them up late. But I think that if you get one of those 2, Simpson or Sanders, the Lions could be in business. Jack Campbell too, but he's probably a 3 for me. I'll talk about my big boards later, but not just for Lions, just overall. But getting some of those guys in the draft, I think, is still a position of need, right? You come out of here and you're like, all right, the Lions need a linebacker. What else do the Lions need? A receiver. I think the Lions could go receiver at 18. If you go, best available, that being, Will Anderson, probably not, but either Jalen Carter or Tyree Wilson. I think Jalen Carter falling is kind of a high possibility now to 6. If you get him or Tyree Wilson, and then you go receiver at pick 18, whether that be Quentin Johnson, who's been falling bomb boards, Jordan Addison I wouldn't like as much, but maybe even Hyatt, a bit of a reach, but I think he would be worth it. Or if you get a guy like Jackson Smith and Jake Buck, good another slot under short yardage guy, I think he'd be a unbelievable addition to this team. He was so good in college. He had a bad year, almost call it an opt-out year, right? Obviously not saying that directly, but Jamar Chase had an opt-out year. He still is really good. Does that matter? Micah Parsons had an opt-out year. He's still really good. So I just think that could be a bit of an overreaction, but they should look at it and really assess their needs. But I think they also re-signed the kicker too, so Michael Badgley. So I think that your needs now, you don't need a kicker. I guess it would be backup quarterback, which is, we didn't need one last year because Goff was healthy the whole time, bound that offensive line. But overall, I think maybe a little bit of interior line upgrade could be what you could do. Matt Nelson got re-signed, which is great. John Kaminsky also, Graham Glasgow, Craig Reynolds, Will Harris, Michael Badgley, all of them got re-signed. Kind of mentioned a few of those before, but you're bringing back the guys that you had before. And, this team, obviously, again, I like to preface this because I'm, a bit more of a non-Kool-Aid drinking Lions fan, I like to think. They were 1-6 to start the year. So that team is still in them. Are they still that team now? I don't think so. But could it come out? So you want to make sure you bring in some other additions. But looking at the draft, again, backup quarterback, a pass rusher or 2, a corner for some depth, a linebacker and receiver. I would say the top 3 are pass rusher, so you can get, whether that be Jalen Carter, which would be probably ideal. He's got a bit going on, a bit overweight, apparently. That could all just be smoke screens. He's got a lot going on, man. Obviously, it sucks, and it was a bit self-induced. He's got a lot going on. So, if you meet with him, and I trust this culture of the Lions, this new organization, not SOL, it's a new organization. If they think he's worth it, absolutely go take him. He's cleared of all wrongdoing. Obviously, still a sad situation, of course. But, kind of got to swallow it and bite the bullet, I guess. Looking at the rest of them, Tyree Wilson, probably the other guy that you'll draft. One of those 2, I would hope, is a Lion. So, yeah, the Lions brought back a lot of guys, added some good depth with a corner. and running back. So I think that this team is going to probably win the North. That's crazy to say as a Lions fan. As you can tell, I'm not in sunny Florida anymore, unfortunately. But since then, the Lions have signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson, the ex-slot corner safety, pretty much all over the place guy from the Eagles. This is an absolutely great deal. He turned down a 3-year, I think it was like $36 million deal. I say that because it was like $5 or $6 million up front, and then like the last year was all the money, but they could cut him before it. So it was really like a 1 or 2 year scam deal. But the Lions, absolute great signing. Now the secondary is completely set. Does this mean the Lions now go up and trade and get Will Anderson, or trade up and get the top guy that they want at 3 with the Cardinals? Who knows? This really does open up things in terms of the draft. They're no longer going to be probably taking Brian Branch, the safety or / corner, kind of like CJ, and they're probably not going to be taking a corner until probably day 2 or 3, hopefully. This really opens up now rushing the passer. What's the best way to make a safety and a corner even better? Limit the time he has to guard. So if you go get some more pass rushers, I'm sure this signing becomes even better than it already is. So Lions are now heavily favored to win the division, which is crazy. But let me know down below what you think about these signings, and we'll see you next time. Peace.